Okay, good morning everybody, and Hazak Baruch. Thank you for joining us on this beautiful Monday morning as we are in the middle of the days between Pesach and Shavuot. Hayom Ahad Asar Yom HaOmer. Today is the 11th day of the Omer, everyone, which is Shavua Echad Ve'Arba'a Yamim, which is 1 week and 4 days. We are studying together this week, my friends, and welcome back everyone from a beautiful Pesach vacation. I hope everyone enjoyed and had an inspiring time with the friends and family. We are studying in these weeks. We study, of course, getting ready for Matan Torah. We study character development. We work on ourselves as people, our relationship to God, and our relationship to others. Our Perashah, my friends, of course, this week is a double Perashah. We have Perashat Tazria and Perashat Metzorah. These are the two Perashiyot that we're going to read this week. And of course, we know Tazria and Metzorah primarily deal with the nega tzaraat, the affliction, what we call leprosy. It's a discoloration on the skin that our rabbis tell us wasn't a medical problem, although you would think to go to a doctor to get some cream, maybe do a biopsy. But the Torah tells us none of that. The Torah says you go to a kohen, this is something spiritual going on. It's a spiritual disease, something wrong that this person is doing, and he has to check not his body, he has to check not his blood work, he's got to check his soul. And that is the Perashah primarily, again, dealing with this affliction of tzaraat, of Tazria and Metzorah. However, our Perashah does not begin with the affliction of leprosy. Tazria, and let's read the first few psukim, it begins actually with the laws of a lady who gives birth. Okay? And it's very interesting because we spoke last week about animals who give birth and the laws of animals and kosher and not kosher. And of course, now we move on to people. Our parasha begins with the birth of a human being. God says to Moshe, Daber el bnei Israel, tell the Jewish people the following. Isha ki tazria, if a lady who gives birth to a boy, then the following is the procedure. She's tameh for 7 days, and on the 8th day the baby does a brit milah, and then for 33 days she is tahor, she's pure. Okay? She's pure. Teshev b'dmei tahora b'chol kodesh lo t'gal tavo. Okay. Then, so there's a 733 number of days for this lady. Okay? So she's impure for 7 and she's pure for 33. That's if she gives birth to a boy. If she gives birth to a girl, then it's different. The numbers are doubled. She's tameh for 14, and then she's pure for 66. I remember one time reading a beautiful idea. Why, if a lady gives birth to a male, to a boy, does she become tameh for 7 days? And if she gives birth to a girl, she becomes tameh for 14 days, double the amount of tum'ah. I remember one time reading something beautiful. What is tum'ah? What is impurity? Tum'ah is the absence of purity. Tum'ah is the absence of kedusha. It's the vacuum that's created when kedusha leaves. When a lady is pregnant, she is herself, she has her soul that she is, but she also has a soul inside of her. She's carrying a human. She's carrying holiness. And the moment she gives birth, and the moment that holiness leaves, the kedusha leaves, and in comes a vacuum. A vacuum sucks in tum'ah. It sucks in impurity. That's why, by the way, when a person passes away, a person also is kadosh, a person is holy, and when they pass away and their neshama, their soul, the source of their holiness, when the soul leaves the person, what comes in? Tum'ah. That's why a person, when they're alive, they're not tameh. Right now, you're allowed to touch a human being. They're alive, they're holy. When a person passes, the holiness leaves, enters tum'ah, enters impurity. That's why a kohen cannot touch a dead body, right? Because when it's a live body, it's alive. There's no tum'ah, there's no impurity. But when the body dies, the purity leaves and enters the impurity. So a lady who gives birth, there's a certain amount of kedusha that's leaving her. There's a holiness that's leaving because she's carrying life. The life is leaving, so she becomes impure. However, we just pointed out that for a boy, she becomes impure for 7 days. For a girl, she becomes impure for 14 days. Why is that? Because when she gives birth to a boy, that boy carried with him a certain soul. So the vacuum that's created is 7 days of impurity. But if she's holding a girl has double kedusha. A girl has double the purity, because that girl herself could one day carry a child. So she's carrying a girl who herself could carry one day a child, and therefore a girl has double the kedusha, and therefore when the girl leaves, the mother now has double the tum'ah, double the impurity. Okay? Fascinating stuff. So this is our parasha, commanding that when a child is born, if it's a boy, these are the rules. When it's a girl, these are the rules. And also, if it's a boy, it gets a brit milah on the 8th day. Okay? Ubayom hashemini yimol besar orlato. Which, by the way, maybe in synagogue this week, you pay attention to Hazan. Maybe if some Syrian Hazanim, they do the ma'am, the tune of the week, Sabah. Sabah is the tune of a brit milah. Okay? So why do they do a brit milah tune this week? Because the parasha begins with the brit milah. Parasha begins on the 8th day, do the brit milah for the baby boy. Of course, this year, we are studying the beautiful words of Rabbeinu Bahye. So my friends, let's open up Rabbeinu Bahye, the introduction to this week's parasha. Let's see what he has to share. Rabbeinu Bahye, in parashat Tazria, introduction, he begins always, who remembers? Let's see who remembers. I know we took a 2-week break. Who remembers? How does he begin every parasha? Introduction with a pasuk from which book of Tanakh? Anyone know? He begins with a pasuk from... Who remembers? He begins with a pasuk from Proverbs, from Mishle. Okay? So let us see the pasuk. Simha leish b'ma'aneh piv. A person will be happy. Simha is happy. Okay? We're all looking for happiness. Says Shlomo HaMelech, there's a simha that will come to you b'ma'aneh piv. If you are saying something, a ready response. Okay? When a person says something, he's going to elaborate exactly what that means. But there's a simha that you will achieve when you say something. V'davar be'ito ma tov. And how beautiful it is to say something at the right time. Okay, so this is a very loaded pasuk. And let us let Rabbeinu Bahye elaborate. He says over here, Ki ha'ish bediburo kshu medaber davarav bechokhma yesh lo shimcha hazeh. In life, when we say something that's intelligent, it causes us to be a little happy. Yes, lefisha deburu mitzad hasechel. Where do the words originate? Words originate in the mind, in the sechel. Words are the advantage that we have over animals. My father told me a joke yesterday that a guy went into a bird shop. He wanted to buy a parrot. He said, "How much for that parrot?" Is that parrot $1,000? He says, "What? $1,000 for a parrot? Why so much?" He says, "You see that parrot? He knows how to say brachot." He says, "Wow." He says, "Brachot, very impressive." He sees another parrot. He says, "How much for that one?" He says, "That one, $100,000. $100,000? Why $100,000 for a parrot?" He says, "Wow, that parrot's very special. What makes it so special? That parrot knows Torah by heart. He can tell you the whole Torah." He says, "What? That's crazy." Then he sees another parrot, $1 million. He says, $1 million? What does he do? He says, "That one says brachot. He knows the Torah and he knows Gemara by heart." He says, "Wow, it's amazing." Then he sees one on top. He says, "And that one?" He said, "That one's 10 million. He says, "That one, what does he say? I want to hear this." He says, "He doesn't say nothing." He says, "What do you mean he doesn't say nothing? So how's he 10 million? He says, "The truth is, I don't know, but I know one thing. All the other all the other parrots call him Rabbi." All the parrots call him Rabbi. So the advantage in life, my friends, that we have over animals is that we know how to talk. When a person says something intelligent, it originates in his mind and he brings it down to his mouth and to say it. He says that leads a person to be sameach. Why? He says, Hadibur, where does words come from? Words come from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The pasuk says, Borei niv sfatayim. God creates the fruits of the lips. Hanavi shebeach bo. God, the Navi praises God. Right? At the end of the day, my friends, you heard of the expression, man plans and God laughs. You ever heard of that line? You could plan all day long. We could have thoughts all day long. We could want to do all day long. But at the end of the day, results, what we end up saying, what we end up doing, these things, ultimately, sometimes you want to do something. Sometimes as a speaker, I'll tell you as a speaker, I plan a whole speech, and I went over in my head 100 times, and I have it clear. You get up there, and what you end up saying is something else completely different. Many times you don't end up saying what you wanted to say. You thought you would, and then it ends up being something else came into it. So, of course, we have to take responsibility for what we say. But most of what we say, a lot of times, we'll pay attention. Although we wanted to say something, I couldn't get the words out, it wasn't clear, I tried saying it, but I lost my train of thought. You ever heard of that? You ever said that to yourself? Ever happened to you? Ever happened to you that you lost your train of thought? You wanted to say something, you went to pay respects, or you called someone, you wanted to say, and you completely forgot what you wanted to say. A lot of times in life, we want to say something, but we can't articulate it. The words are just not coming. Says Rabbeinu Bahye, in life, if you want to say something that's appropriate, and you arrange them in your head, and you have clarity on what exactly it is that you want to say, right? Yismach al zeh. When you arrange your thoughts and then you deliver, then there's a certain simcha. Rabbi Jacobson says all the time, he says that he was taught that as a speaker, you should do the following. You should get up, you should tell them what you're going to say it, tell them that you said it, and then sit down. Right? So in life, you should arrange what you want to say, have it clear in your head. And he says like this. At the end of the day, you could plan all day long what you want to say. That's in your hands. But what you end up saying is not always in your hands. Believe it or not, the words come from God. God puts the words into our mouths. We could plan, we could have in our mind, we could think of what we want to say. But whether or not it comes out clearly, whether or not we end up using the right words, because always in life, sometimes the difference between a deal that goes right or a deal that goes wrong or sour or south comes down to one word. You could say the same exact sentence, and sometimes it comes down to one word that you use that made it look like it was for their benefit, or one word that actually gave the guy the impression that you're doing it to hurt him. It always comes down to one right. The wording is always very, very, you got to be very careful on the wording. A lot of times in life, what you want to say is good, right? You want to say something. You want to ask for a raise. You want to ask someone if they can give you a place to stay for the weekend. Always, it's not what you say, right? What you want to say is fine. You could ask for a raise. But it's the wording. How do you ask? And those, sometimes the words, God puts the right words in a person's mouth. Happens to me sometimes where, someone's talking to me and my tongue is caught up. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to respond. And all of a sudden, He puts the words in my mouth. So, really, this is the pasuk that we say in Rosh Hashanah. We say, Le'adam ma'arche lev. Right? Are you familiar with this line? We say it. I'll even sing it for you, okay? I don't like to sing, but I'll sing it, okay? We say, right before the Amidah, we say, Le'adam ma'arche lev u'me'amonai ma'ane lashon. What does that mean? It means, man, ma'arche lev, man. Thank you very much. Thank you. I'll be here till Thursday. Okay, man could prepare his thoughts. What you want to say, the thoughts are up to you. But me Hashem ma'ane lashon. But the words come from God. And therefore, when a person wants to say something, and he ends up saying it, and they align, that's thanks to the help of Hashem. Dale Carnegie writes that there's 3 speeches that you give. The one that you prepared, the one that you ended up giving, and the one that you wish you gave. Right? Many times, the speech that we said, what we ended up saying, we reflect 5 minutes afterwards, we say, why did I say that? It's not what I wanted to say. I wish I gave something else. You know what I mean? So, a lot of times, right, what we want to say is not always in sync with what we ended up saying. So when a person ends up saying what they wanted to say, it brings a lot of joy to a person's life. It brings a lot of simcha. That's the first, right? That's the first half of the pasuk. Simcha leish b'ma'aneh piv. There's a lot of simcha if you ended up saying what you wanted to say. I know it sounds like silly. So what did the Rabbi say today? He said that you should say what you want to say. Right? It sounds like, what's the chidush? But the truth is, there's a big novelty in this idea that you're able to say what you wanted to say, because sometimes you don't. Sometimes you want to say something, someone cuts you off, you get interrupted, you can't always say what you want to say. But here, if you're able to say what you want to say, there's a big simcha in that. Now, here's another layer though. Shlomo HaMelech doesn't end over there. He begins and says, Simcha leish b'ma'aneh piv, that you'll be happy if you could say what you want to say. However, ve'davar be'ito matov. But he ends off and he says, very important. Even though you want to say something and you end up saying it, but if you say it at the wrong time, that's the most disastrous thing. Davar be'ito matov. You say something at the right time, that's excellent. In life, my friends, we have to be very calculated. You could compose a beautiful song, the most beautiful words, poetry. But you get up and where do you say it? You say it at the house of mourning. Everyone, Rabotai, attention please. Everyone's sitting on the floor, everyone's crying. The guy just passed away 5 minutes ago. The Avelim, and you get up and you deliver the most beautiful Dvar Torah. You give the most beautiful speech, the biggest Hidush. Rabotai, I want to tell you about Pesach. I just heard the craziest gematria, the nicest story. So wrong place, wrong time. What are you talking over here? What are you singing poetry at a house of an Avel? Or vice versa. Sometimes people, they don't know where they are. They forget their surroundings. Person goes to a party, he comes to the Bala Simha, he comes to the father of the groom or the bride or the mother, and instead of wishing them Mazal Tov, he starts talking about irrelevant things. He's talking about sad things, talking about stresses that he's going through. He starts sharing with him his problems. What are you doing over here? This is not the time. The guy's enjoying his wedding. What are you coming and sharing over here Megillat Esther with the guy? Right? A person has to know not only what to say, he has to know when to say it. When to say it. Shlomo HaMelech says, you could have thoughts, you could even say your thoughts. Very happy. You said what you wanted to say. But in life, but if it's not at the right time, it'll be a big mistake. In life, you have to stay on topic. If the conversation, if the setting, if the mood is positive, keep the talk positive. Right? Sometimes a guy comes in, middle of a Shabbat table. Everyone's having a great time, everyone's laughing, everyone's enjoying, and all of a sudden a guy comes in and kills the mood. He kills the mood. He says one thing. He says, oh yeah, you heard who just died? What are you talking about, who just died? Why do you have to mention that now? It's not the time to mention that. Okay? Of course, sometimes it is the time. Sometimes it's an extreme scenario. But a person needs to apply chokhmah in life to know, just because something came into your head, just because it's here, doesn't mean that it should be here. Doesn't mean that it's the right time to say it. It could be something that needs to be said, but it's not the right time to say it. Timing in life, my friends, is everything. You know, imagine a guy goes to a funeral, and the person who lost a loved one comes and says, "Wow, thank you so much for coming. It really means a lot." And you respond, "Anytime." Right? You think about it, it's a very dumb thing to say. What do you mean anytime? Anytime? You're hoping the guy has many funerals? What are you saying? Anytime. Right? Person has to think, what am I saying? Is this the right time to say it? Yes, anytime is a great thing to say 9 out of 10 times. Hey, thanks for helping me. Anytime. Hey, thanks for coming to my party. Anytime. But if a guy says thanks for coming to the funeral, anytime is the wrong response. You don't say anytime at a time like that. Okay? The knowing when to say something. Knowing when to say it. Just because it should be said, it doesn't mean that it should be said now. Okay, I think that's a very important lesson. Just because it should be said, that doesn't mean that now is the right time to say it. if your son is acting out, if your son's misbehaving, your daughter, your child, they're doing something wrong, they're being fresh, you got to rebuke them, you got to punish them. But maybe now is not the best time to say it. Their friends are over, they're with their cousins, they're here, they're having a good time. You sure now you want to rebuke your child in front of 30 people? In front of all their friends? Embarrass them? You know what they could do to their self-esteem? A person needs to apply a lot of chokhmah to know, I come home, my wife's in a very bad mood. Okay? My husband's in a bad mood. Something happened today. I had something on my mind I wanted to tell them all day long. I was waiting to see them so I could tell my wife, I could tell my husband what exactly I wanted to say. I was annoyed how they did X, Y, and Z. I was annoyed that they do something, right? But you come home and then you see that your spouse is all stressed. You see that they're in a bad mood. You see that the children are giving her the hardest time. So a husband will be very foolish when he gets home and he sees that the wife is stressed, she had a horrible day. This would be the wrong time for him to add insult onto injury and start telling her about also what he wanted to criticize her about. Is that the time? But Rabbi, you're right. It's the right thing to say. You got to say it. But now's not the time. Davar be'ito ma tov. You got to say it at the right time. Don't throw in things that are irrelevant. Don't throw things that are not for now. This is not the time. She's cooking in one hand, and the baby in the other hand, you're crying, and the kids and fighting and anxiety. This is not the time. Got to say it at the right time. Just to show you how far this goes. Okay, just to show you how far this goes. We said in this week's parasha, it deals with leprosy. So the guy doesn't go to a doctor, he goes to a kohen, because like we said, this is a spiritual disease. He goes to Mr. Kohen, he says, hey, Kohen, could you please look at my hand? The Kohen looks at it, and he knows right away, it's not good. This is white. This is Snow White. This guy, we call him Mr. White. This guy's as Sara'at. This is the quintessential textbook Tum'ah color. No good. Wow. Nothing to think about. We could send him straight to isolation, quarantine. Forget about it, right? But the pasuk says, you ready? Vera'a. Pasuk says he has to look and he shall look. The Kohen's got to look 2 times. And our rabbis explain, you know why he's got to look 2 times? He's got to look at the white, at the color, but he also has to look at the calendar dates. Got to look at the cycle of the year. Got to look at this guy's schedule. Maybe this guy's about to get married. You're going to make him tameh right before his wedding? You're going to put him in quarantine? No. The Torah says, the halacha is, you don't diagnose the issue. You so white? You say to him, come back to me in a week. I'm not sure, I can't see. Come back after. We'll talk soon. Now's not the time. What do you mean? You saw it's white. You know it's white. That's as white as it gets. He's not tameh till I say he's tameh. And now is not the right time for me to say he's tameh. Now he just got married. Now he's going through Sheva Brachot. Now this is not the time. It's not the place for me to tell him that you're tameh. He shouldn't be hearing those words now. Now his head's in a different place. Unbelievable. It's a wild concept. The guy, it's a holiday. Pesach's coming up. He has a vacation planned. He's going to be with his family for the Seder. You're going to make him tameh? You're going to put him into quarantine? You're going to put him? The halakha says no. You don't put him into quarantine. You don't call him tameh. You call a timeout. You say, I'm not sure. Come back in a week. Come back later. I can't diagnose this. Come after Pesach, we'll talk. Come after Pesach and we'll talk. Sometimes as a rabbi, guy will ask me the halakha. And the halakha is very clear what the halakha is. Black and white. But this is not the time that the guy could hear what I'm about to tell him. It's not the right time. Not the time for it. A person's on vacation. You see someone doing something that's forbidden. You see someone that's acting. You see someone eating. You're going to go now and tell them now, hey, you shouldn't be doing that. They're not going to hear you. They're not going to stop. They're not going to listen. You got to go when they're going to listen. You have to calculate not just what you say, but when you say it. The person has to be able to think. Am I going to kill this guy's holiday right now because of my words? Is that the right thing to do? The Torah says don't do it. Vera'ah. You got to look. And then you got to look. Yes, it's true. He's tameh. It's white. But I can't. I don't have the heart. The Torah says, how do you have the heart at this time? Right before the guy gets married? You're going to kill his whole wedding plan? You're going to kill the holiday for him? It's not the right time. Let him enjoy his time. He'll deal with this issue next week. Lechol zman va'et. Lechol zman va'et. Everything in life, Shlomo HaMelech says, has a time. Everything in life has a place. A person needs to think. A person needs to calculate. Is this the right time? Is this the right place? Even in halacha, we have what's called she'at ratzon. We have what's called a favorable time. Vani tefilati lecha Adonai et ratzon. We say, God, I'm praying now in a time of ratzon. Now is a time of wanting. Now you want to hear my prayers. There's a time, even prayer. You could pray every second of the day. But there are times that are better for prayer. There are times that are better for teshuvah in the year. Right? There are times that you shouldn't learn Torah shebichtav. Right? We know nighttime, better not to. If you can learn something else, better not to learn Tanakh. According to the Zohar, nighttime is a time of deen, of judgment, and you shouldn't learn Torah shebichtav, which is also deen. That's why people usually don't say Tehillim at night, right? Again, if the alternative is watching a TV show or a movie or doing averot, for sure learn Tanakh. Okay, I'll take the hit that you get in Shamayim. Don't worry about that. Okay, but in general, my point is that everything in life has the right time and the wrong time. Even learning Torah could be the wrong time. Tisha B'Av is the wrong time. It's a sad day, and Torah makes people happy. Pekudei Hashem Yisharim Mesamchei Lev. Torah makes people sameach. You're not supposed to be happy. Everything in life has a time. And a person needs to calculate, is this the right time? Is this the right time? I want to come in and I want to rebuke my wife. I want to rebuke my husband. But I see he's in a bad mood. I shouldn't do it now. He's not going to hear it. Got to calculate. You got to calculate the timing. The Brisker Rav, when he would see his kids doing something wrong, he would never say anything on the spot. He would hold it. He would remember it. He would take a mental note. And he would wait till Friday. End of the week, he would call up his kids. He would say, all right, kids, on Sunday you did this. On Tuesday you did that. You deserve 3 punishments. Punish them. But he wouldn't do it on the spot. He knew on the spot, they're not going to hear it. I look angry. It may come from anger. I want to think. I want to know. Davar be'ito matov. Davar be'ito matov. A very powerful lesson, my friends, that in life, to know, is this the right time? Okay? This is Shlomo HaMelech's advice. Even if you're saying the right thing, you're saying something that's very smart, very logical, great hidush, it's true, Dvar Torah, beautiful idea. But ask yourself one question. Is this the right setting? Is this the right time? Is this when I should be saying it? And that's the derech hapshat. This is all, my friends, the simple interpretation of the pshat. Rabbeinu Bahya continues, and let's continue a little bit, onto the derech hadrash, where he elaborates now on this pasuk on a deeper level. He says, Simha leish is referring to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. God is happy b'ma'aneh piv, when he created the world with his mouth. Vayomer Elokim yehi or. Right? When God created the world, he was very happy. V'davar be'ito matov. And not only did God create the world, and again, this is supporting what we just said. God decided it was the right thing to create the world, and he created it with his mouth. Vayomer Elohim. But when did God say it? We know that the world was pending 974 generations. Tat ka'ad dorot. It was waiting because maybe this is not the time. God realized I should create the world, but not today. God waited. Tomorrow. Maybe I'll try to. No, it's not ready. It's premature. It's not ready. Not ready. Sometimes a guy comes to you with a halachic question as a rabbi. The guy asks you, what's the law? You got to know where the guy is. You got to know who the guy is. You got to know where he's standing. You got to know what level he's on. You're going to tell him a halacha that's up here. The guy's all the way down here. He can't even hear it. It's going to turn the guy off. It's going to throw him far from Judaism. It's not ready. Of course, this is the halacha. This is the goal. And we're not changing that. But you are not here. You cannot hear. You cannot hear this concept. This concept is too big for you. You could have the biggest rabbi, Shlomo HaMelech himself. When he was kicked out And at one point of his life, he was searching back for his throne. And he was wandering around like a nobody. And he was trying to prove and begging people, hey, I'm Shlomo HaMelech, please believe me. He said, yeah, okay. You're Shlomo HaMelech, prove it. And he would share with them the most profound, remarkable, brilliant pieces of wisdom. But the people that he was telling it to had no idea what he was talking about. It sounded gibberish. It sounded like he was talking stupidity. Because for him, in his head, he was sometimes you hear a genius speak. I don't know if you ever saw geniuses speak, whether it's something that's politics, or about science, or about medicine, or about art, or about math, and they're talking so fast. So the words they're using and the concepts they're using are so advanced for us that we're like, I lost you at the. You know what I mean? It's too deep for me. It's too deep for me. You go into a class, I'll tell you something. If you go into a class, if the rabbi is, sometimes people come, I don't like that rabbi. I don't understand anything he says. The flaw is not in the rabbi. The flaw is in you. The rabbi is speaking to his audience. His audience is up here and he's talking to their level. And for them, this is exactly what they need to hear and what they want to hear and what their level is on. The problem with you is that you're down here. Now, it would be a mistake if that rabbi were to come speak in this place or institution and he would keep preaching up here. That would be a mistake on the rabbi's part. The rabbi's got to know, if I'm here, I got to speak down here. You got to know in life, is this the right time? God didn't create the world for 974 generations because it's not the right time. Not the right time. Not the right time. Got to wait. The world's not ready. The world's not ready. This is unbelievable lesson from Hashem himself. Who could you get better than God? Now look what he says. He says in the Sheshet Yemei Bereshit, in the 6 days of creation, Kol Yom Vayom Shesha, every day after God created the world, he took a step back and he analyzed. He surveyed. Is it good or bad? And every day got a thumbs up, right? Vayad Elokim ki tov, God saw, this is good. Every day, God, tov, good, right? Except for day 2, right? Day 2 didn't get a thumbs up, but instead God gave it a thumbs up on day 3. He gave 2 tovs on day 3, one for day 3 and one for day 2, which is again our lesson. Again, on day 2, God couldn't say it's good because day 2 was a day of fighting, of separating. Upper waters and lower waters were separated. On a day of divorce, on a day of separation, on a day of fighting, it's not appropriate to say good. It's all the same lesson. God dare not on day 2 say something, even though it was good. He gave it a good later on. He gave it a good on day 3. On day 3, he reflected back and said that was good. But this is not the time to say that. This is not the moment. In this moment of anger, of fighting, of frustration, leave it. Don't. It's right, it's wrong. Leave it. Don't get involved. Don't get involved. Badavar be'ito matov. Now, he asks a question here, and this is interesting because this goes back to the creation of the world. He says, I thought we believe, and I already taught you, he says, that the world was created all in the same shot, in one moment. Berega had. I thought everything was created on the same day. So what do you mean on day 2, on day 3, on day 4? So he says it's true. I'll give you an example. Look at this beautiful metaphor. Imagine a farmer, he takes 6 seeds, he plants 6 seeds all at the same second. However, the seeds don't grow together. One seed sprouts today, one tomorrow, one on the 3rd day. He says that's creation. Hashem took all the seeds, all the stuff that make up life, and the ingredients were there together. The seeds were there in one moment, which goes very nicely with the Big Bang theory. The Big Bang, boom! In one shot, all of matter, all of everything, all of life was there. The 6 days is the seeds now are growing over the next 6 days. You understand? This is what Rabbeinu Bahya is saying. Science doesn't disprove Torah. Science actually proves what the Torah already wrote thousands of years before scientists discovered it. Okay? So Shlomo HaMelech says, "Et hakol asa yafe be'ito. Kol davar ve'davar shenivra be'yomo haya be'ito ve'haya hakol tov." Everything that God created was at the right time, and it was all good. From the first thing created, light, all the way till the last thing created. What was the last thing created? Anyone know? Last thing created was man. Everything was made at the right time. God felt man is here, but the world's not ready for man, and man's not ready for the world. Man needs to wait to day 6. Animals need to wait till day 6. Birds and fish till day 5. Everything has the right time. All the ingredients were there. Even after God waited patiently 974 generations, and now He comes to creation, He still didn't put all the ingredients in one shot. They were all there. He planted, but He had to have. There's an order. There's an order. When you put on your clothes, there's an order. When you build a house, there's an order. It'd be a mistake to put 6 before 1. Okay? And in general, he says always the rule in life is that whatever's at the end is always the best. In Hebrew we say Aharon Haviv. Save the best for last. Because man was the goal. Man was the Tachlit HaKavanah. Man is the purpose of creation. And man comes last. V'chen Yom HaShabbat. Shabbat is the choicest of all the days of the week. Shabbat comes last. Olam Haba comes at the end. Everything in life, Am Yisrael, everything in life comes at the end. The best things are saved for last. Okay? So, let's just wrap it up because he has a lot of beautiful ideas over here. But let's just continue just to give justice to this Rabbi Bahya. He comes and he says, always what's best is last. So what does that mean? First came Esav. First came all his children. Then Yaakov was born. Then the tribes were born. Right? Always in life. And Esav, when does he have children? He gets married at what age? 40. Yaakov didn't get married till 84. Because in life, you want to save what your intention is to come all the way at the end. He's going to give a few beautiful examples. Reuven, imagine a guy building a house. Okay? Now, this guy has one goal. His goal is to, let's say Reuven, he says, Rotel lilmod Torah. He wants to learn Torah. Beautiful. En lo bet midrash. He doesn't have a study hall to learn. So what's he going to do? He builds a foundation. Then he raises a building. He puts a roof. He puts walls. He puts plumbing. He puts a bathroom. He puts a sink. He puts lighting. He puts everything there. And at the end, when it's all done, what does he do? He sits and he learns Torah. What was the goal? What was his intention? All of this was to be able to sit and learn. But that's what he did last. In life, just because you did something last, it doesn't mean that that's the least important. Opposite. Usually what's last is the most important. Right? Like in our case. Hashem, the goal of the world was man. Man was created last. Just because he was last doesn't mean he's least. Opposite. It's all here for him. When you build a house, you put in the walls and the furniture, and then come in the family. The family is the goal. The family comes in last. Adam came to this world at the end. Hashem is able to create something having the end in mind. Because Hashem sees the future. Right? As an example, God said to the Jewish people in the desert not to wage war with Ammon and Moab, the two nations. Don't kill them. What do you mean, God, don't kill them? They sinned against us. They hurt us. God says, you're right. But don't kill them because one day there's going to be 2 righteous women coming from these two nations. There's going to be a lady by the name of Ruth and a lady by the name of Naamah. And I need them. And therefore today Hashem saves these 2 nations for 2,000 years from now. For 1,000 years from now. There's going to be a lady and God is able to think ahead. Okay? But at the end, what we're learning from all of this, that actually the last thing is always the goal. Okay? The last thing is the goal. Everything in the beginning is setting up the stage for the final product. The final product. A man goes sifting in the beach. All the sand. He's searching. He finds one pearl. One pearl. One pearl justifies all the sand at the beach. You get a big rock, how much of it is cut and wasted for a tiny diamond, tiny stone? Okay? So, this world, right? You plant a seed. Think about what's the goal of a tree. And by the way, you still have a few days left for Birchat Hailanot. Okay? Those that didn't say it yet, there's a mitzvah of saying the blessing on the tree. Ideally, you should say it in the month of Nisan. So there's a few days left till Rosh Chodesh. Rosh Chodesh is Thursday night. Okay? So when you plant a tree, what's the goal of the tree? The goal usually is the fruit. In the meantime, until you get the fruit, there's roots, there's bark, there's leaves, there's all this stuff. But all this stuff is secondary. I don't care about all this stuff. I care about the last tiny fruit all the way at the end. The pri sheva b'harona hu haya ikar hakavanah. The goal of the farmer was the fruit, the produce. Everything else is just waste. But in life, you need all that waste, you need all that fluff, you need all this stuff to get to the tiny little goal, the cherry on top. You need it for that thing, right? That's how it is with creation. Everything in creation, very cute, very cute, very cute. But ultimately, the goal of creation was man. Hashem created everything for us, right? The pasuk says, "Ahor v'kedem tzeratani." Adam Arishon says, "You created me in the beginning and in the end." What does that mean, beginning and the end? I was in the beginning of thought, and I was in the end of product. Adam was the last thing created, but he was the first thing in God's mind, and that's always how it is. Every vision has a right. Every visionary, when he has a vision, when he has a dream, when he has a goal, what's the goal? The goal is, you have to always ask yourself, what's your goal? Right? In life, what's my goal? What am I doing this for? What am I building this for? Why am I going here? The goal is that last, everything in between is to get to the last thing. So the inception of thought always comes first, and usually what you think about is the last thing you do. And you do all the things in between to get to it. Like we said, the farmer, his goal is to eat. His goal is a fruit. And the fruit comes all the way at the end. After you plant the tree and it grows and you finally get all the way at the end, you get the fruit. So before God created Adam, and Adam is the goal, and this is how he's connecting it to our parasha. You say, Rabbi, how are you getting from here to parasha Tazria? So look what he says. He says, before God created man, he gave him commandments. He gave him commandments on don't, right? Don't eat, don't do. And he gave him mitzvot aseh. Yes, do, yes, this. And the Torah, actually, we spoke last week about 3 animals. We spoke about land animals. We spoke about fish. We spoke about birds. And then this week we speak about the laws of people. Right? If you pay attention, the Torah told us last week about all of the animals that are pure and impure. Then all of the fish that are pure and impure. Then all of the birds that are pure and impure. And now we're learning this week about the people. What makes a lady impure? If she gives birth. What makes a man impure? And all the laws of purity and impurity. If you get leprosy, you're impure. And then if a man has certain discharges, he's impure. All the laws of purity and impurity. And look what Rabbeinu Bahya says, beautiful. Look, it's so clear according to how he explains it. What's the order here? The order is very simple. We know there are 4 elements in the world that we live in. There's earth, water, wind, and fire. He says animals are made primarily of earth. So Torah begins with animals, land animals. Then it speaks about fish, water. Then it speaks about birds, which is air, wind. And then this week it speaks about people. Man is the top, which has the neshama, the fire, the soul of God. Unbelievable idea. And the moment man is born, God gives him a mitzvah, brit milah. To tell you, we're not here just because. We're here to do mitzvot. The goal of life, my friends, the goal of creation was so that man can do a mitzvah, so that we can do This is so beautifully connected to the holiday of Pesach. The holiday of Passover, we remember freedom. We celebrate freedom. But freedom is not the goal. Freedom is not the cause. Freedom is the result. The cause is mitzvot. The cause is serving God. The cause is getting to Har Sinai. The way to get to Har Sinai is you got to be free. God, we don't celebrate Pesach because we were free. We were freed so that we could celebrate Pesach. We were freed so that we could do mitzvot. Man was created so that he could serve God. Adam le'amal yulad. Man was created to serve. It's not just that we were created and now, I guess as an afterthought, as a thank you, we serve. No. I created you for this. The purpose of creation is to be able to do the mitzvot. And therefore, before our creation, God tells us these are the animals that you should eat. These are the things that are kosher. These are the things that are not kosher. And after we were created, the baby comes into this world and he is given the laws of Brit Milah, the laws of Tumah, the laws of Tahara. But either way, I think today the takeaway we learned, and this is his connection to the Perashah, very clear, that a lady, she gives birth, the laws of purity and impurity, and a baby boy is a Brit Milah, etc., etc. But I think today we learned something very important, and that is like Shlomo HaMelech teaches us, Davar be'ito matov. In life, you have to say the right thing at the right time. How good is a spoken word at the right time? How good is a word that's spoken at the right time? You got to say it, appropriate timing. It takes a little bit of thought to think. I got to think, is this the right time? I'm going to say it, but is this the right time to say it? Is it the right time? Is it the right time to rebuke? Is it the right time to celebrate? Is this the right time? Maybe it's not the right time. You're happy. You just got great news. You got great news. I'll tell you a story. Rav Moshe Feinstein, when they had the hijacking in the 70s, and Rav Hutner was returned. He was one of the people taken, one of the prisoners taken. He was one of the people kidnapped, one of the hostages. And when Rav Hutner arrived back safely, there was a whole band of musicians and all the Jews were there playing music. They were very happy that Rav Hutner is back. They were very happy to celebrate. Rav Moshe Feinstein went to the band and said, "Stop playing music." What do you mean? We're happy. He's like, yes, you're happy and I'm happy because the rabbi is back. But there are people that are not back yet. There are still hostages stuck. Their families are still crying. It's inappropriate for us to play music when those people are still suffering. This is how a gadol thinks. This is how a great person is able to have vision and to realize that you're right, I'm happy. But is this the right time for me to show my happiness? Is there someone here that I'm going to maybe to offend? Maybe I'm happy that I have a child. Is there someone on the table that doesn't have a child? Maybe I shouldn't talk about my children on the table. I am very happy. I just went somewhere on winter vacation with my wife, but I know someone wasn't able to afford a winter vacation. Maybe I shouldn't talk about my winter vacation now. I'm very happy that I got married, my honeymoon, but I know my friend on the table, the person in the chat, still single, is still very sad. Their child is single. They don't have a happy ending yet. This is not the time. This is not the time for me to start flexing about my wife, about my husband, about my children, about my money, when I know that there are people here that don't have that. It takes a little bit of calculating. It takes a little bit of time to think ahead. Maybe this is not the right time. Davar be'ito matov. How beautiful is a word spoken at the right time. May Hashem bless us to always be able to think, to be able to calculate our words, our actions. Is this the right time? Is it the right place to learn from the Kohen, who won't even dare diagnose the leper because of his happy occasion? I don't want to ruin your simcha. Have a good time. This is your moment. Enjoy it. I'm not going to come in and kill it for you. I'm not going to come and just pop your bubble, pop your balloon. It's not the right time. I'll tell you later. And by the way, don't even tell him you'll tell him later, because that itself gets the guy anxious, right? Tell me what later? No, I don't want to tell you now. Have a good time. Obviously, you shouldn't say that. You shouldn't say, I'll tell you later, because that itself will cause all this anxiety in the person. to be able to think and to calculate. Simha leish b'ma'aneh piv, a ready response. If we're able to say what we want to say, that's beautiful. But even more beautiful, v'davar be'ito matov. Even more beautiful is not just knowing what we want to say and not just being able to say it, but being able to say it be'ito at the right time. We'll stop over here. Have a wonderful day, everybody. God willing, we'll see you all tomorrow. Bye-bye.